40,000 people went into Palestine. Okay, now imagine this mass population of a country which can't actually cope with that, which sparked something called in 1936 the Arab Revolt. 1939 you had the White Paper, okay, and then you had terrorist activity. We talk about Hamas, but let's not forget that you had terrorist activity by the Irgun and by the Haganah and by Levi, and that terrorist activity was rewarded by the British Empire, which in 1946 culminated, of course, in the King David hotel bombing, which was the targeting of civilians. 1948, after the resolution, in 1947 by the UN, 1948, May the 13th, I think it was, Israel became what it is today. Now, I don't know why it would be against morality or against liberalism or against your worldview or my worldview to say, actually, the way in which your state came into being, was established, was completely immoral in every single way, shape or form. The only thing you guys really have to say about that is that, well, we were there in 70 AD.
No, you weren't. They weren't there.
Okay, just calm down for a second, please, bro, please. If okay, you were there 70 AD. There was a siege of Jerusalem, very well known. Hebron, the king, and so on. Now we talk about ancient history. Here, the Normans were here. You know, when we talk about Hastings, let's talk about the fact that the Romans were here. Okay, there was the Gallic, what's it called? The Gallic Wars or whatever, before Christ. So some Italian guy comes and says, we're Roman, we have rights to Britain. This is the ridiculous nature of the claim. No one makes these, you have to understand, guys, no one makes these claims except for Zionists. Understand that. No one legitimizes, okay, the status of a state based on the fact that there's archaeological evidence from 1,400, 6,000 years ago, whatever it was, 3,000 years ago, 2,000, whatever it was. Yeah? No one does that. Now, you guys are doing that, and that's very well and good. But the point is, you have to understand, this is, for all intents and purposes, it's a catastrophic, yes, oppressive way in which a state has been established. I've made this example before, and I'll say it again. If ISIS, and I'm going to make an even more inflammatory comment today, I'm going to make a very inflammatory and controversial, wallahi, I want you to react to it. The way that ISIS conquered land, which is monstrous and condemnable and diabolical and megalomaniacal and unacceptable.
I like the adjective.
Yes, no, just so that there's no equivocation. I'm saying what I'm saying, right? The way that they established land in the times that they did was more noble, even though it was ridiculous, than the way you did it. Do you know why? Not you, but the way the Zionists did it. Do you know why? Because at least they fought for it themselves. The Zionists relied on the fighting of the British Empire. With all due respect, you needed American backing, the UN backing. You needed I think that, Israel is a bastard state. And what I mean by that, it doesn't have a father. In fact, it's a product of one night stand of the UN and the British Empire. Israel does not have...
In fact, if I may, Mohammed.
No, please, let me finish. Please, bro, please. So let me finish. It is a bastard state. Okay, I'm being very straightforward. I don't want to give you two faces and lie to you. Why on earth should we should appease this? Oh, you should have the 1967 borders. Who said after the Second World War that you're allowed to conquer territories? Who said that? You guys are part of the UN. Yes, Israel is part of the UN. Who on earth said you're now allowed to conquer territories? So your fact that the 1967 borders are what is being referred to implies that the New World Order, including America, is willing to acquiesce to states and territories being conquered, which is the same as what ISIS have done, sorry to say. But like I say, it's less noble, it's more ignoble. You know why? Because ISIS, with all their monstrous and diabolical actions, they fought themselves. Whereas not you, but the Israelis, they needed the UN and the US cowards. I'm sorry, the way that they established themselves is completely cowardly. I'm not going to beat around the bush and pretend to be civil here. We don't need to pretend, two-state solution. Do you think for me to say, I actually believe that the way in which Israel established itself in the first place is completely oppressive and illegitimate? You think that makes me an anti-Semite? Wallahi, if that makes me an anti-Semite, I'm happy to be labelled as such. Exactly, good point. But if this is your definition of anti-Semitism, if the definition of anti-Semitism has become that I can't even condemn the way a conquering state becomes a country, then I'm ready to be called an anti-Semite. But the truth is, I am a Semite myself.
Brother, how are you going to be
Brother, please,
anti-Semitic
please,
against the people ain't
I know. I'm a Semite myself, right? And even, by the way, I've done the ancestry test, and I had some Jewish in me, to my surprise.
Shalom.
And by the way, when I went to Golders Green and I told them that, they started having a different attitude to me altogether. I was talking to them about these things, bro, you know. And then afterwards, I said, you know, I'd done an ancestry test, and I had some Jewish in me. They were like, oh, I saw the smiles in their faces. And honestly, this is the thing. No, before you go, I know I spoke for a long time. I'm going to let you speak back. But please, bro, I'm just saying this. This pathetic use of the word anti-Semitism as a deflection mechanism of the covert narcissistic state, which uses as a scapegoat these labels and these terms. Oh, it's anti-Semitic if you talk about Israel. It's anti-Semitic if you talk about the history of Israel. If you don't agree with the two-state solution the way we like it. The 1967 borders. Who told you that? If that's what anti-Semitism is, then everyone is an anti-Semite and we don't mind being labeled as such. But that's not what anti-Semitism is. But what anti-Semitism is when you discriminate against someone, hatred of Jews because of their Jewishness. That's what, if you look at the dictionary, that's what it says. No one is saying that Jews shouldn't have a homeland. We're just saying, don't make your homeland on the expense of someone else's homeland. What we're saying with Yaqub, this Jacob, this pathetic, that fat slob, you know, in Sheikh Jarrah, saying if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it. I put the middle finger up to him and to his state. I put the middle finger up to him and to his state and say, you know what, if you're talking about stealing like that, you know, to be honest with you, we don't give a damn about if being labeled as anti-Semitic. We don't give a damn about, we have to understand, Aaron, wallahi, the only way you will understand how we feel, if you go back down memory lane, you realize everything was oppressive. Everything was oppressive. From 1917 onwards, every single thing. You have no right to speak about anything. Honestly, everything was bad. The Nakba, everything was bad. From Balfour Declaration, all those things are not points for you, they're against you. You talk about Hamas, that they want to see the extermination of Jews, or that they want to see all Muslims in the area. Who said that we agree with Hamas on every point, or the charter of Hamas has become the Quran? Who said that? I tell you something, under the Ottoman Empire, Jewish people, and you know this, you'll agree with this.
Yeah, we have spoken about it.
Yeah, they were actually fleeing from the Christian West after the Inquisition in 1492. They were fleeing, running away to the Muslims, where they had their golden era. We say this, we say we believe in coexistence. But we believe in coexistence not at our expense, never at our expense. Coexistence doesn't mean you come into my house and say that if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it. We put the middle finger up to people that say that, or in the way that you do it. Sorry, this is very rude. The way you do it in your country, we do this as well. Yeah, we do that to them. You know that? Yeah, we do this one. We do that one and that one. Wallahi, we don't agree with any of this bull BS. We don't accept it. We cannot accept it. And this discourse is a sham. It's a sham. It is a sham. It's not a level playing field like two sides. There's a clear oppressor and oppressed. As Norman Finkelstein says, there's a raper and a rapist. If the rapist, after getting what he wants, he's starting to rape, the raped one gets up and spits at, he said this. I spoke to him. He said, this is online. He said, if he spits at the raper and says, you know, he deserves to be spat at. Don't tell him, oh, why did you spit at him? We need to go back and circle back in history. Come on, let's be honest. The truth of the matter is this. This has been the only time for a very long time, since, I don't know, 200 AD or something, where the Jews have actually had a chance, and the Zionists, let's say, to show us how it would look like if you had a state where they were in control. And unfortunately, they're not doing a good job of it at all. What they're showing us is that it's the worst time in history, okay, probably with the exception of the Crusades in the last 2,000 years, that there's been such oppression. Bombing children, let's not pretend, oh, but you know that.
Mohammed, can I answer before
yes,
I run?
of course.
Number one, I can't outdo you. I think you should run for Prime Minister in this place.
I'm going to run for Prime Minister.
I'll vote for you.
I'm going to run for Prime Minister in Israel. I'm going to be there.
Am I voting for you there as well?
We know it's all political.
Now listen to me. I'm going to do it fast, and I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to answer a few of your points that you made. You mentioned that the British, by the Balfour Declaration, weren't on the British mandate in Palestine. It was still the Ottoman Empire.
Yes, that's correct.
That's the point I always say. The British, the colonialists, freed the state of Israel before they even controlled the area.
Yes.
Already was interested in splitting two people apart.
Yes.
That's number one. So the colonialists who had this vision of breaking two peoples, a bond that we've had for thousands of years, were the colonialist British. That's fact number one. Fact number two is, when we talk about the colonial Brits, occupied the area of Palestine at those times, which people kicked the colonialists out were the terrorist Jewish organizations. That's the fact. As you mentioned before, Haganah, Etzel and Lehi, these three organizations kicked the colonialist British out of the area that is called Palestine.
What you mean to say is that they committed terrorist attacks
against the colonialist power.
No. They killed civilians. All right. So let's be honest. 1940.
I'm not justifying it.
Good.
In no way at all. I'm just stating the fact of who kicked the colonialists out of that area.
No, let's be honest. Okay, let me challenge you. Please don't run. Please, we've had enough of people running away from conversation.
I never run away from you.
I know.
Do I run
but
away
you
from
keep saying using the word run.
No, because he has to go to.
I'm not using the word run. Let me tell you this very carefully. Look.
His wife wants to
Let me tell you something. I know. Listen carefully.
I have your number.
No, I know, but let's just finish the conversation.
That's too fast.
Listen, bro. Okay, listen. Mechayim Begin, okay, who was part of the Menachem. Thank you. Okay, Menachem Begin, who was part of the Irgun. Okay,
yes.
He became the president of the country.
The prime minister.
Sorry, the prime minister from years 1977 to 1981. Correct?
I don't know exactly.
Yes.
You know better than me.
Okay, look, he became the prime minister of the country.
Not my country. So don't forget.
All right. He became the prime minister of the. Listen, I want people to really think about this for a second. Okay, he became the prime minister of the country. Okay, from 1977 to 1981, and he was one of the perpetrators of the bombing on civilians in a hotel. Now I want to put it this King David Hotel, 1946, right? Now I want to put it to you this way: you have someone who's a terrorist from the Muslim community. He leads a group of terrorists and he goes to a hotel, let's say the Hilton Hotel, blows himself up, shoots some people that are going up to the hotels. Maybe they're getting a robe, they go downstairs to get the buffet. You know what I'm trying to say? You want to get a breakfast. And then you know what? You get some guy, terrorist, shoot you in the head. Okay?
I would condemn all.
Of course you condemn.
I condemn all.
Good, but he became... No.
But I'm just telling you the point of... I try to bring a different point completely. Not about the terror attacks where we condemn it, and as we have said before, evil is evil no matter who perpetrates it.
No, what I'm saying
is... I'm trying to bring the different point is who kicked the colonialists out.
No, but you're calling this kicking them out. This is not kicking them out. This is the British Empire and the UN rewarding a terrorist organization for their terrorism. That's what it is. That's what is happening. Yes.
Or I'll take it to the next step.
Yeah.
There are many people who say that the Muslim cause, the way to fight for Palestine is...
Are you comparing someone...
No, I'm trying to bring a point. Is to do the same thing that Haganah, Etzel and Lehi did against the British, to do it against the Israelis the same, and then they will just do what the British did. They made a calculated what's called equation. The price of colonialism is this, and it's not worth it anymore. So if so many people in the Palestinian community say, you know what, we'll use the forces and idea, the same means as Haganah, Etzel and Lehi worked, and with that we will kick the Israelis out. The only problem, what I would say is, that could work against a colonialist power like the British, who their native land is where we are all standing beautifully here. The problem is, when it talks about in the state of Israel, they aren't colonialists, they are in their native land. Now we can negotiate what the word native means and how far back we go, but I'm talking from their understanding. I'm talking from their understanding.
Well, from the British understanding, let's be fair.
I'm talking from the Zionistic understanding.
The British and the Zionists are the same. No, sorry, they're the same because...
I'll tell you why it's a difference, and agree with me at this much.
Okay.
The British could go back to Britain. The Zionists, when what they call home is Zion, is what every Jew has prayed for the last 2,000 years, is to go to that land. So they aren't colonists, they are indigenous. The word Judah, Jew, means you come from Judah. Judah is in way the state of Israel that is in the West Bank.
I understand what you're saying, but let me put it to you a different way. Everyone justifies their colonism in a different way. America, they have a concept called manifest destiny, and by the way, almost every president has believed in manifest destiny and westward expansion. Go and research it if you don't believe me. The point of the matter is this: the British Empire did have their own set of justifications for going into lands and colonizing them. And this, I'm saying, just because you have a different set of justifications, it does not mean that it's not what it is, and it's colonialism. The point is this:
And let's put it this way: on this point, Mohammed
No,
Hijab,
no,
we are going to agree
Let-
100%
yes.
to disagree.
Okay,
I'll
fine.
tell you why we're going to do that.
Fine.
Because we are conflating now something called Zionism and Judaism as well. And
How?
Judaism, I can't agree that you should ever be able to touch for a simple reason. Because Yeshivas seeing the hope for Zion, not just I pray for it every day, I pray for it in a peaceful way, in an utopia where we'll be able to live together and the temple will be built where it was built before. Al-Aqsa and Haram al-Sharif Temple Mount will be built there, but it will be a place of prayer.
So you have to destroy the Aqsa?
No destroying. A place of prayer.
Where would the Aqsa go?
It will work in a way that I'm not God.
Yeah.
I've never done anything. I haven't created the world. I just about know when I get up in the morning what time I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
I've got no idea how it's going to happen. Maybe if we talk, we might come to some idea, but there's going to be a place for all mankind. Muslim brothers and Jewish brothers and Christian brothers, Hindus and Sikhs, all will be able to pray. All will be able to pray in that place. Now we could agree and disagree.
We don't want to pray in the temple. We don't want to pray in the temple.
No, but I said, I'll tell you why from a Jewish perspective,
Yeah.
I'll put a full stop at that point, because for me, that is when you are crossing into my religion. Where I'll tell you why.
Let me cross
I don't mind if you cross into my religion.
Let me cross more.
But I got the right to say,
no.
Sorry,
let me
that's where I stop.
Let me cross more. Let me cross more into your religion. The problem is always has been religion, actually. To be
I
honest,
disagree.
let me tell you why.
I
Please.
disagree because
let me
religion
tell you how. There's a lot of similarities between us, but one of them is not our conception of race. There's not one verse in the Old Testament that even condemns racism. In fact, let me tell you something. With all due respect, the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, is, for all intents and purposes, I would argue, you can derive from it an inference of racism. When you're talking about God repenting,
I'll stop
now
you
please
there
let me finish.
again.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. When you talk about God repenting to Israel, when you talk about the distinction between Gentiles and Jews, we cannot pretend to avoid this theological set of justifications. You do believe that you are in a hierarchy with other races, and you do believe that you're at the top of the hierarchy. This is a difference between us.
Can I answer now? You've spoken from my community, and I'm going to defend it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell you, all right, Mohammed Hijab, sorry to tell you, you are wrong.
Okay.
But the simple fact is as follows.
Go ahead.
That means Judaism is not a race, it's not a religion. I've mentioned it to you in the past. There are many contexts what makes the Jewish people as a Jewish community. Point number two is, so it's not just a race, because you could convert into Judaism. Even if I've spoken to many Muslim brothers who never heard of it, but you convert into Judaism, I wouldn't advise it to anyone, but it's a fact, so it can't be race in that way.
Why would you advise it though?
And I'll tell you now why I won't advise
go
it.
on, yeah.
Number one, because it's tough, and number two is that's where we theologically differ. Because Muslims believe, I'll tell you why, stop a second, that the only way to serve God, the only way to go into paradise, whatever it is to accept Islam, and that's the way forward, because God, in your perspective, as you would call it, Allah, came for all the people of the world to accept it through the Quran, and that's the way into paradise. Now, the Jewish perspective
I want
to stop. Let me just finish my sentence.
Of course.
That means from the Jewish perspective it's not that the Jewish are in a hierarchy and the rest of the world is here. It is we all serve God, just in a different way.
Okay.
That means you don't have to become Jewish.
Let me ask you a question.
Like you have to become a Muslim.
Let me ask you a question.
But you could
You're more knowledgeable than me in Hebrew. No, before you leave, no, you can't just do this. Every time you say, let's go. Calm down. This is transformative stuff, please. This is whatever you got to do. This is more important. Okay. Let me tell you. No, please. Let's not dictate things to each other. Look. Here's the point: is this, guys? Listen. Aaron, do you believe that there is a theological difference in you and me because of the fact that you're Jewish? And what is that theological difference, if there is one? Because of the ethnicity.
I believe there's no theological difference in the way what we believe in God.
The
only difference between people is that I believe that all people can serve God in their own way.
Okay.
And I don't believe, like Muslims, that you have to convert to Judaism to serve God.
Yes.
Now, and the end result is, do Muslims and Jews reach paradise? The answer, simple question is yes. It's not creed.
Fine.
It's deed.
So no, I accept that from you. You're basically opening a kind of open theism.
It's not open theism. No, it's a
kind of open theism.
It is as long as you. There are Bibles that 7 rules of Noah that you have to keep, but that's basically it's deed, not creed.
What I'm going to do to you right now is accept what you've just said, okay? If you listen to what I said, is that it can be inferred in that way. I didn't say that it is the only
I said
inference.
that it's a misconception
No,
of an understanding.
but that's according to your. That's no. What I'm saying.
You're talking about the no hide laws.
No, but hold on.
The overall.
No, but here's what I'm trying to say. Look, you would agree with me that first, I totally accept your. I'm not going to force my exegesis on you. You have your own ability, and your father is a major scholar.